Hey everyone, this is Corinne Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know, I start my show off the same way with gratitude. I am thankful to be here, to be doing my show, to be above ground. I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm wishing the world the same thing, everybody to be safe and be well. Follow the instructions, yes? So, I am also happy to have Karen Leland. Did I pronounce that right?
You
Karen,
did. It's
yes?
Tiber Leland. Yeah.
Tiber Leland, that's right. Tiber Leland with me today, and we're talking about a topic that will be totally relevant to you. Let me tell you what it is micro marketing for small business in tough times. Any sort of marketing at this point in time will be important to you. So it just so happened, because I think we were supposed to do this show some time ago and it ended up being within COVID. So
Yeah.
it is perfect timing. Everything happens for a reason. Let me tell you a bit about Karen. And Karen is the president of Sterling Marketing Group, a boutique branding and marketing firm. Her clients include LinkedIn, Clearly, Twitter, and Google. She is the best-selling author of 9 traditionally published books, good for her, which have sold more than 450,000 copies. I'm sure I'm seeing those zeros correct. Her latest is the brand mapping strategy, and we'll see a bit about that when I feature her book and her website later down in the episode. So her latest is the brand mapping strategy, design, build, and accelerate your brand. And I just love talking about a brand because I'm into public relations and marketing, and communication. She writes for Inc.com, and that's not INK, that's INC.com, and spoken at Harvard, Stanford, and TEDx. So people, we have an accomplished person here with us. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Corinne. So happy to be here.
Yes, Karen, to Between the Lines. Yes, and she's in a taxi, people. She's in New York, clearly, traveling on the road when she's supposed to be in isolation. Welcome, Karen. It's good to have you. Yes. So, micro marketing. Why didn't you just say marketing? Why are you saying micro marketing? What's the difference?
Well, I think one of the things that's happened right now is that people's attention, their span of attention, their ability to handle sort of the bigger ideas are much more reduced. So what I mean by micro marketing is you have to take the big idea of what you would have normally previous to COVID been marketing and selling to people, and you have to break it down into much smaller pieces, which is why I say it's micro marketing. So for example, I had a client that runs a consulting firm, and they were selling these really successful, big, wonderful training projects where it was multiple day training programs, you know, et cetera. Well, first of all, no one's coming into real life, face-to-face, multiple day training programs,
Right.
But you're not going to sell a multiple day training program online right now. You're not going to have everybody sit in front of their Zoom for 3 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
So what I said to the client was, you need to create some micro offers, right? You need to create some offers that are a tiny little single slice of what it is that you offer. Maybe it's just an hour on a particular topic on a Zoom call and everybody's on that webinar for an hour.
Right.
So it really has to do with chunking everything down to these very sort of thin, what I call micro offers, these thin slices.
Yeah, don't try to eat off the elephant. Take little bites, And it comes back to attention span as well. We really, as human beings, seem not to, I don't know, in this age, and it has nothing to do with COVID, it's just the technological age and time has evolved, where people just cannot consume so much all at once or sit in one place, I guess, for such a long period of time.
But COVID has actually exacerbated that because there's something called Zoom fatigue right now. So people have been spending a lot of time on Zoom, and so you're doing, for example, I do a free, what I call Monday marketing meeting every couple of weeks, and it's a free webinar. I was doing those webinars for an hour a few weeks ago, and what I realized was an hour is too much time. They're now 20 minutes. I do a quick 20-minute, you know, in, out, something actionable, tangible, one topic, etc. What I liken it to is TED Talks. You know, when they tell you whenever you do a TED Talk or a TEDx talk, they say one idea. A TED Talk could be one idea, which actually is harder to do than you think.
Yeah.
But it's really limiting things to one idea. Well, micro marketing is the same idea. Micro offers are just one small aspect of the offer rather than the whole big thing.
Yeah. And so when they take away, they can say, oh, I could implement that. I could do that. It translates in their mind that, yeah, this is doable. I could do that. And they don't feel overwhelmed because people are so easily overwhelmed already. Remember, they have their daily lives and maybe parents and maybe working. They have other stresses. They have COVID coming at them all day. You know, they really don't need that. So if they realize that, hey, I can just use this one idea, one takeaway, one tip and implement that, that's doable. I could deal with that. And Absolutely. So by consuming that, they would be more encouraged to come back to hear something else at another date. May not be the following day, maybe the following week. Yeah?
Correct.
Yeah. So cutting it down from 1 hour to 20 minutes is good. I actually did that. I was doing webinars every week, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. I took a break for the past 2 weeks because it became a little bit too much for me. And it was like about just 30 minutes. I'm not staying an hour on anything, talking to anyone. No. 30 minutes, and most of the time it's like the last 10 minutes is more questions, interaction, having the engagement. So I'm not even speaking for the full 30 minutes as a presentation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are some things? Well, let's put things into context, Karen. A lot of businesses have closed. A lot of traditional businesses are out here. And right now, there's no discrimination in the sense of, oh, America is one thing, Canada is another. We are all facing the same, exactly, we're facing the same challenges. So businesses were not prepared for this. And I'm not just talking brick and mortar businesses as well. I'm talking online entrepreneurs were not prepared. There are people who have online businesses and they just were like scrambling overnight when they realized this thing hit, and some of their clients drop off. They're just not used to being online, you know, that type of thing, or doing whatever online. What are some tips that you can share with businesses right now? I mean, if you can do 3, I always like the number 3 when I'm doing my show. What are 3 tips you can share? I think
one of the tips is that there's businesses usually go in one of 2 directions. Mm-hmm. They hunker down and they stop spending money on everything and they're just trying to survive.
Right.
Or they strike a balance between reasonable spending, what's the word? Being careful, mm-hmm. but also really being prudent about what they're spending, but also looking to see what they need to create for the future. And right. Actually, the research shows that in past crises, economic crisis, etc., the businesses that strike that balance between being prudent, but also getting the promotion balance right, the promotion prevention balance right, actually not only recover faster, they recover better. They come out better. So I think one thing businesses need to think about is, what is something we've been putting off that we need to actually be taking the time to do now? And we do need to be investing money in. Maybe it's a new website. Maybe it's redoing our branding messages. Maybe it's doing a marketing PR campaign. Maybe it's redoing our social media. Maybe it's upgrading our social media. You know, you need to be thinking about not just, well, we're going to hunker down and not do anything, because in reality, that rarely works on the other side of this. You have to come out of this really prepared for what's going to happen. The other part of this, of course, is that there have never been more eyeballs looking at your stuff online than there are now. And not just on cell phones, right? On actual computers, on laptops.
For sure, Karen. They are looking. Yeah.
Website is crappy. If your social media is crappy, if your brand messages aren't clear, if you look bad online, if your LinkedIn isn't up to speed, if you're not posting social properly, you know, you run the risk of not only losing a whole bunch of potential new customers, but you run the risk of actually really damaging your brand. And let me just tell you something. I look at a lot of businesses and I'm really shocked and horrified at how they look online. And they're saying, well, we don't have any money to do anything about it now. And I'm like, you know what? You can't afford not to do something about it.
Yeah. And that's the persons who are already online. You're talking about people who may have a website.
Correct.
And it needs to be, you know, revamped and all of that. But the brick and mortar who didn't have any, and they were thinking, oh, we're going to exist like this for the rest of our lives. You know, nothing is going to happen in the world. Everybody's going to keep coming in our store and buy. And I don't have a list of clients. And to follow up on, and they just come in and buy and leave. So
well, a lot of companies were unprepared for, one, didn't have a digital strategy, and two, were unprepared to implement the digital strategy, and then three, don't know how to implement the digital strategy. So everybody's like a dog in the water, right?
yeah,
A lot of
paddling.
companies are like that. They're trying to catch up to get it done. It's challenging. And,
Yeah.
and that digital strategy could be everything from an online store to an online presence to using Zoom. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I see, they don't know how to run a webinar or use Zoom appropriately.
I know. Yeah, I know.
So it's all those things, right?
Yeah, and I think that's past 3 tips actually, because we're sharing so many things. But you spoke about a digital strategy. Brick and mortar businesses were just thinking traditional. They are not saying, because I was sharing this with somebody the other day, and I was saying, hold on, you should have an associated brand online. So if your business brick and mortar shut down for some reason, you can just tell your customers, switch to online. As a matter of fact, you should be encouraging them to do both at the same time. So for those, it will help you to segment your audience and know, oh, we have so much percentage wanting to buy online and so much wanting to come in the store. Or maybe you can make a business decision later on and say, hey, it doesn't make sense carrying on this sizable brick and mortar. Let's scale down here and upscale the online, because it's, you can make better business decisions. But everybody just stuck with brick and mortar. They just got comfortable, Karen. They got comfortable.
Fat. They got fat and comfortable.
And they're getting fatter right now with COVID staying home, spending more time in the fridge. Yeah.
Not me. Everyone was calling me and going, I'm gaining the COVID-15. I was like, I'm not doing that. So I actually went on a very healthy cooking. I've lost 7 pounds since we started doing this, because I just decided I was not doing that.
No, you're not supposed to get comfortable, and it doesn't give you the permission or the excuse to say, well, I'm home, and so I'm going to just sit in front of the TV and press the remote all day. No. Because
I have time to sit in front of the TV all day long and eat cheesecake. I don't have time to do that.
You understand what I'm saying? And I was saying to people, I said, listen, you started at 0. Let's call it 0 when COVID started. You're not supposed to be at 0 at the end of COVID.
Correct.
That says a lot about you. You're supposed to be so ahead of the game. You're supposed to watch COVID in the eyes and say, hello, please. You came into my life. Yes, I wasn't prepared. No problem. But you're not going to hold me in this position. And this is not going to happen to me again. I am going to make sure I put the tools and the systems and the policies and the whatever in place so that I am prepared for anything like this, and start to think, what if?
Yeah, because this really isn't our last. This isn't our last time at the rodeo. I mean, whether it's going to be a pandemic or it's going to be global refugees from global climate refugees from climate problems, whether it's going to be terrorism. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a world that if you have 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 more years to go on the planet, the likelihood is that we're going to go through something like this or related again.
I totally agree. And this is what I tell people. I said, listen, this is preparation. So if you were not prepared before, this is to tell you, wake up, because the other things to come may not be as nice as COVID, may not be as nice. People may think this is the worst they could ever go through. No, it is not the worst. You are still alive. You are still able to social distance or physically distance. You can still talk to your family. Look at how we are talking. We could still communicate. You're not locked up in a prison. Nobody's stopping you from your movement or anything like that. But you don't know, something else may come where you totally cannot do any of these things. What are you going to do? So we need to be able to be still viable and sustainable, because the thing about it, Karen, is that this is the only income that people had. Some people are not in their jobs, their business, whether brick and mortar, online, however, the business model that they had is their only income. What can you say to them to lift their spirits and to let them know it's going to be okay, and these are some things that they can do?
I don't think it's going to be okay in all cases. And I'll tell you the cases where I don't think it's going to be okay. I think one of the downsides to online businesses is that anyone can hang out a shingle and say they're an expert at anything.
True.
And I think a lot of people have gotten away with a lot of BS, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who really didn't know what they were doing. I know in your profession, in my profession, that's rampant. You know, people calling themselves PR experts or marketing experts or branding experts who know nothing about the field. So, you know, and that's just one area. You've got people in the health area doing that. You have people, you know, there's all kinds of areas with people doing that. And I think one of the good things that's coming out of this is I think this is separating the people who have real substance and know what they're doing and can produce results from the people that are just full of what I call hope and hype. So I think some people are not going to make it because what they have mostly is hope and hype. Whereas there are other people that have expertise and they have to really reinvent their businesses in a way to get their messages out. But I do think there's going to be a sorting. And I don't mean that to put anyone down, but you know, there's always a certain amount of people who go into something because it's popular, right? Or because they think there's money to be made. Without necessarily really caring about deeply the impact or the results they produce for their clients. And I think we're going to see a big sorting out of that. I'll tell you where I think you see this now. I've been reading a lot of articles online about that this is probably going to bring an end to the age of the online influencer, right? So these people that are, you know, these millennials that are like, wow, I'm the fashion person, I'm the this. I think there'll be some of those people, but I think this whole model of like, just build up your following and then you get to be an influencer and then you get paid huge amounts of money. I actually think that's going to be substantially over as a result of this. And personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you're being an influencer shouldn't be based on how many people follow you. I think it should be based on the substance of what you're teaching or the content of what you're giving people, plus your popularity. I don't think it should just be based on your popularity. I think it needs to be a combination.
Karen, if it wasn't for COVID, I would hug and kiss you. Listen, I told you.
Well, thank you. I haven't been, you know, these days, most of us aren't getting hugged and kissed as much as we're normally used to. So every dog I see when I go walk in Central Park, I'm like, oh, hello, how are you? Because I'm desperate to touch something, you know.
Yeah, lucky we're talking virtually, so I will send you a virtual hug and kiss. But listen to me, you're talking real talk there, Karen. Because I have been watching these so-called influencers, and I'm like, really? Are things really going on for them? I've met people, interacted with people who call themselves influencers, and I'm like, really? What's really going on? So I had to, because you know, personally, you can take it on and feel, wow, I'm not doing anything. These people are really doing things. I need to do what they're doing. But I start to sit down and assess myself, and I look at the landscape, and I'm like, come on, Corinne. No. There's nothing to feel bad about, because what you are doing is actually adding value in people's lives. They are actually doing the talking for you. You are not talking about yourself. Your clients, the people the few people who may be following you are the real people. So I don't need to quote and say I have 100,000 followers or a list of 1 million. No, the people who are following me are the ones of true quality and value.
And there is no winning the game of keeping up with the online Joneses. So I always tell people, do not focus on that. Focus on your particular group, the people that are the right people for you. You know, it doesn't take a lot of people to have a really substantial business. You just have to have the right people following you. You don't need 100,000 followers. You need the right people connecting with you. So I always, when I do branding strategies with clients, I'm always really clear to try to help them figure out, it's not everyone. Who is the idea? What is it that you are actually, what is the clarity about what you are actually providing in terms of your brand and what you stand for? And who are the people that could most benefit from that? If you can get a match between those two things, that's all you need. You don't need hundreds of thousands of people following you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the mindset. One of the things that's really been a topic of conversation, and I knew this would have happened from the time, you know, COVID came, and I knew they would have isolated and, you know, separated people. I'm like, the mental, the mindset, you know, you start to see people showing up their true selves now because
a friend of mine said that because somebody did something really horrible with me, and I was telling this friend about it, and she goes, well, under this stress, who people really are is coming out. And the people that are generous and kind and considerate and ethical, that's what's coming out. And the people that are not, that's what's coming out.
That's what's coming out. This thing is really manifesting a lot of traits that were dormant, undercover, latent for many years. And it's bringing out the real in people. So you're getting to even your family, friends, your neighbors.
Especially your family.
Yeah. Right? But the whole mindset and the paradigm shift that is necessary for business, for people. So even if you're not in business, what would you say that people need to shift? That whole mental frame that they need to move into.
Yeah, that's
because
a great question.
Because people are saying things like, when are we going to go back to normal? What are you talking about? How can you go back to normal? What is normal in the first place? And what are you going back to?
Well, you know, I have a very dear friend, someone I've known for 40 years, really since I'm a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And he's unfortunately very ill with cancer and very questionable whether he will make it or not. Oh, and he did a little video message the other day. And in his video message, he was talking to a couple of us friends. And he said, you know, you've made my life wonderful. And he said, I would do it all over again just to be with you. And I thought, wow, yeah. That's to me, the thing to come out of COVID with is don't spend your time with people where you wouldn't do it all over again just to be with them. Don't make people wrong, you know, live and let live, bygones, you know, let everybody be who they are. It's fine. But your time is the most precious commodity you have. You know, that's the most precious commodity we have. Mm-hmm. And don't spend it with people where the answer to the question, you would do it all over again to be with them, isn't yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clients, customers, friends, family you're kind of stuck with, but.
hello, even them, you have to sort them out. I'm telling you, you're not obligated. There is no contract that says you have to.
No. Okay. But that really, I tell you, that really gave me pause when that person said that, because I thought that is a beautiful way to measure whether you should be spending time around someone or not. And by the way, again, not that there's anything wrong with the other person or making the other person wrong or being judgmental of the other person. No. Just recognizing for yourself that they don't fit into that category, and that because it is a limited commodity and time is a limited commodity, spend it with those people where you can say that. I thought that was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and as I said, this whole situation that the pandemic, the world is facing, people are really coming to terms with what really matters. They're actually noticing the tree that was outside, the plant, the dog, the cat, the breeze, the sun, the moon. They're starting to appreciate those things that were always there all along. The neighbor that they never said hello to, the taxi driver. I am like, why weren't you before? You're so busy and caught.
We're too busy.
Yeah, busy doing what, Karen?
Too busy and too important.
Really? Busy doing what? Doing what? That you cannot take time? Why? It isn't worth it, Karen. It isn't worth it.
No,
you cannot take.
I think for a lot of people, this has been a big pause. And, you know, I live in New York, hence the picture I took of the taxis on the street that I used as my virtual screen. That's my photo I took.
I love it.
But I live in New York, and, you know, Governor Cuomo, our governor's given a press report every day. And he is just, I think if there's one person I've seen an amazing example of leadership from, it's our Governor Cuomo. And, you know, he was just on the news conference today, and he was saying, you know, this is going to change how we do things. But he said, if you don't let this change, but this also has to change you.
Of course.
Because if this isn't changing you, if you're not looking and seeing changes you need and want to make, you're missing the opportunity. And I thought, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but
of course,
I thought that was just really a brilliant and simple observation.
Yeah, that is the opportunity, the growth within you. The growth within you is more
Otherwise,
important.
it's wasted time.
It is wasted
and by the way, there are people, I will just say, because I've gotten this pushback from some people who've emailed me when I've written about this. There are people who think that that's wrong, morally wrong, to think that we should look at this as an opportunity because people are dying and people are suffering. And, you know, without minimizing the absolute unimaginable horror of losing people, of people being sick, of people dying, which of course is a tragedy no matter how you slice it. There's always an opportunity to either just sit in just the tragedy or honor those people by really finding the opportunity. And my choice is to honor those people by finding the opportunity.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Don't let their death go in vain, because they would have lost out on doing things that they would have wanted to do. And you're supposed to learn from that and say, hey, they didn't get that opportunity or they lost out on that. I need to take up that baton.
And by the way, I don't mean the opportunity to be, you know, profiteering and make huge money.
No.
I mean the opportunity to contribute,
Yes.
to have your business be about business for good, to be
Mhm.
about contributing and making a difference. But you know, if you aren't in business, if you don't make money, you know, Rockefeller once said his duty was to make money so he could do good. If you're not in business, you cannot be contributing.
Yeah.
You can as a human being,
Yeah.
but your business can't contribute if you're not making money. So
Yeah.
it's a balance, you know. It's not about being insensitive or profiteering, but at the same time, there's no honor in having your business go under because you think it's, you know, a bad thing to do marketing right now. I think it's more about marketing and branding in a way that the messages are correct rather than insensitive. But it's not about just sitting back and going, oh, I can't talk about my business now because people are dying. I don't actually think that helps anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree, Karen. I want to hop across to a website, or your website rather. I'm opening up a page here. Let me see. Remind me of your website again.
It's KarenLeland.com or SterlingMarketingGroup.com. Both go to the same place, but KarenLeland.com.
KarenLeland.com. Let's see now. It's coming up here. Wonderful. Yes. So it led me to Sterling Marketing Group. Let me just share that.
Same website.
Yeah. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. Define your brand at the speed of business. I love that, at the speed of business. Normally it's the speed of light. But
yes, I know. Unfortunately, I'm just about to redo my website, and unfortunately, tagline's going to have to go, given that the speed of business has actually changed dramatically.
That's okay. That's okay. So what can we feature here for you today? What can we feature?
One thing for certain is if you go to the podcast, just do a quick highlight on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I have a podcast called Thought Talk, and I interview a lot of really interesting people, so people can go there. The last person I interviewed was Travis Holman. He's the CEO of one of the biggest locker companies. And then if you go to books, just go over to books, one next door, highlight books, and you scroll down a little bit.
I'm waiting for it to.
I know. I don't know why it's not coming up. People can find the brand mapping. It might just be.
Oh, there it is.
People can find the brand mapping strategy on Amazon. That's a really detailed book that's very user friendly about how to generate and create your brand. And if you just go down a little bit further, let's see what's down there. I think there might be. No, that's it. Those are books. No, there's other books. Yes. And then if you just go to services, I'm going to point out one more thing. And see where it says Rent My Brain down at the bottom.
Oh, Rent My Brain. Yeah.
So a lot of people, they just want to go, hey, Karen, look at my website or look at my strategy or do this. So I always offer people like a 1 hour hard hitting consulting session called Rent My Brain, where they can really just have me do a deep dive and look at one particular aspect of their branding or their marketing. And people often find that very useful.
Okay. So they can, they click here in order to schedule that.
Correct.
Wonderful. And how can they contact you?
They can just contact me right at the contact form. They can always fill it out either for getting a complimentary consultation, or if they just want to send me something else, a simple contact form, they can click the simple contact form.
Yeah, or email you directly or give you a quick call.
Yes, either way.
Nice. So this is great. And if you want to learn more about Karen, you see, and her clients and testimonials, you can hop across here. Yeah. There she is.
There I am.
There she is. So Karen, I want to say thank you so much
Pleasure,
for being on Between the Lines and sharing. We had a wonderful conversation.
We did. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time. So it's time for you to come out the taxi and, and pay the taxi man, okay? But I want to thank you so much for sharing your tips and your ideas, and we resonate on so much, and especially at this time. I am definitely going to be sharing this as soon as it is finished and edited and all of that. I'm going to be sending it to you. So because this is a message we need to get out there. This is a message.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, everybody needs to know.
Thank you, Corinne, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh yes, not a problem, my dear. Whatever
right.
whatever small part I can play, I am happy to contribute. Thank you so much.
Thank you.